Yo, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to another episode of Thinker versus Speaker, where I, Marissa the Thinker, sit down with different guests and we talk anything, everything, life, love, relationships, spirituality, literally whatever you or we want to talk about. So if it's something that you want to hear us talk about, someone that you want to hear me talk to, feel free to let me know. I'll give you all of my social media and contact information at the end. So stay tuned. With that being said, because we talk to anyone and anybody about anything, sometimes we might talk about sensitive topics. So if you easily triggered, take this as a general trigger warning. I don't think we're going to talk about anything that's triggering, but you never know what's going to be triggering to who. So I'll just give that in the beginning. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. We got a new guest in the building today that I'm very, very, very excited about. We got Keara Okolo. Did I say that right?
You said it right.
All right, but we're going to call you Key for the sake of the episode, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How are you today?
It's another beautiful day on this side of heaven in the land of the living, so I cannot complain. How are you?
I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It's Sunday. I'm back from brunch with my friends.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful day. Like we went for a walk in the park. It's just, just a day of gratefulness
Oh,
on my end. So um yeah, no complaints out of me whatsoever. So
I
since
definitely
it's
feel that.
yeah. Since it's your first time here, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Well, I am originally from Kansas City, Kansas. So Kansas made me, or Kansas raised me, but Missouri made me, if that makes sense.
uh it does.
I currently reside in Jefferson City, Missouri, where I am currently working at the Halo Foundation, a nonprofit here in town. Its sole purpose is to help at risk and homeless youth have a family, more or less. We provide housing for youth, we provide individual services. So, anything from helping them find out how to get their license to how to obtain their social security card, even down to the super basics of how do we go into the grocery store in an appropriate manner. That's kind of what I do on a day to day. In addition to that, I am like the community outsource for the company. So I go out into Jefferson City and practically mid Missouri and as a whole and tell them about Halo in all of its glory. In addition to that, I am in the process of competing for Miss Missouri USA. I am Miss Capital City. I will be representing Jefferson City in that pageant on May 20th and the 21st, and I am super duper excited about that. Um, I don't know where else to go. Am I missing anything, Marissa, or is there something else that you want me to throw in there?
Nah, I mean we can dive into it. If we missed anything, we can get into it along the way. So
Okay, bet.
yeah. So how did you end up at the Halo Foundation?
Right. I it was all divine to say the least. I
Mm,
was working at Lincoln University as a recruitment coordinator, and I learned so much about how I enjoy networking and I really enjoy communicating with other people. And I knew that Lincoln was not where I was going to be my whole life. And so I got to thinking and having conversations with, at the time, my boyfriend um, about how I wish that I could go and do something where I get to cultivate relationships and just put beneficial resources in front of other people. And here came this opportunity with Halo. After being at Lincoln for almost 2 years, Halo presented itself, and it was time to change pace. And so that's kind of how I got involved in Halo.
yeah, it's kind of crazy how those things work out. Like I'm at a point in my own life where I'm like doing my job, and my job at one point in time was something I was like super excited about, love doing it. But now that I've spent more time finding myself and what I really enjoy doing, it's just like when I go to work, it's just like I enjoyed this, but like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's other work that I could be doing that's a little more fulfilling. And not only will it be fulfilling for me, it could be helpful to other people. You know what I'm saying? I could have a bigger impact in a different place.
Most definitely. That's really what it was like for me, like you said, just knowing that there's somewhere else that I could potentially have a bigger impact and potentially reach more people. I mean, even though I was a recruitment coordinator, I was heavily, heavily involved in mentorship with my students at Lincoln. I mean, my office was like a revolving door. One student will come in, as soon as they leave, another one is coming in and be like, "Hey, Miss Key, this is what I got going on. Can we talk
Yeah.
about it?" It's like, "Yeah, babe, let's sit and talk about it. Let's figure out what you got going on. Help them out and identify those gut checks that they need, and then send them on. And here comes the next one. All while trying to make sure, I'm still doing the actual work that I'm supposed to be doing at the university."
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's so interesting. It's probably telling about your personality if you got kids coming through the door all the time asking for help.
Hey,
So
it's a God thing for sure.
yeah, 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 yeah. So okay, so you're also running for Miss Missouri. Like tell us about that. So you said you missed Capital City, that's what you said?
That's correct. So this is my second time around. I ran last year on the platform of hashtag Key to the Crown. Key was an acronym and also my nickname, but the acronym stood for Kindling the Excellence in You. And
Ooh.
you see me? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the goal was just to really kind of encourage and inspire whomever might have been looking to me to know that, hey, you can do whatever you put your mind to, more or less. I was really big on self-care, mentorship, and just guidance, more or less. So that was last year. I competed, I had the time of my life. I obviously did not bring the title home. However, I was able to bring two awards home. One of them was the Trisha Langa Award. That award was established because of me and all of the community outreach and service that I did with my local title holder, which was Capital City at the time as well. And then there is a group of teens that compete. So for Miss Teen Missouri USA, or Miss Missouri Teen USA, excuse me, they were told to choose a one of the Miss contestants that they felt really drawn to and saw as like a big sister, whatever. And the all the girls ended up getting together, picked their person, and I ended up being the person that won. And I mean, it was just rewarding. I mean, those two awards were basically the title without the title.
Mm.
So this time around, it's actually funny how it even came up this time around. I just happened to not be paying too much attention to social media, and the current Miss Missouri reached out and was like, "Hey, I see all these people that are running. Congratulations." And she was basically like, "So, for those of you that don't know, we're allowing married women and mothers to compete this year." And I'm like, "Oh, snaps. I'm a married woman. Like, that means that I can compete." And like years prior, that was not something that was permitted. So like I said, I didn't realize this was a thing until end of February, early March. And so from there, I hit the ground running. And this go around, my platform is Return of Key. Key is still an acronym for Kindling the Excellence in You. Uh, but this time around, I'm really, really focusing on that young adult that is moving into the young professional realm. So, I mean, we focus so heavy on mental health, which I am all for. But sometimes I think we need to bring it back just a little bit, come out of that and say, okay, what's the big picture? What do we want to do when we grow up? And that's my target audience at this point, just helping people see what they want to do and then walking into it. And so, even in that, that means we're taking care of our mental health. That means we're taking care of our physical health. That means we're taking care of our spiritual health, so on and so forth. So, we're combining all of those things, but on a bigger scale, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it makes sense. That's actually something that I'm passionate about here. Um, Showing people, like, you know what I'm saying, just reminding people, like, hey, check in on you. Let's make sure you're good. Like, let's take care of these areas of our lives that are really going to help us thrive. So how did it come to be? How did you become passionate about that? Was that something that you were always passionate about, or did it take a journey to become passionate about that?
Do you mean passionate about pageantry, or do you mean passionate about like which portion? Because there's so many passions in this. Which portion do you?
Absolutely. I mean, passionate about your platform. I'm gonna double back to pageantry, but just that aspect of like helping people, like even in your in your acronym, like how did you come about like your acronym? Like,
So
yeah.
the acronym itself, actually, one of my homegirls named Jada threw some words out. I mean, I had a group chat with some friends, and everybody was throwing words around. But Jada came up with kindling the excellence in you, and I was just like, "Yo, I really like that." But just this helping mindset. One, it's a God thing. Two, I had a village growing up. I had a very, very supportive village that was always there. If I fell, like literally or physically or emotionally or whatever, spiritually, if I fell somewhere, they were there to support me and pick me back up. And I think that that's just very important because that's what created the woman that I am today. And I know that sometimes that lacks for young people. Or sometimes, we're too scared to ask for help, but when help is right in front of you, it can be kind of hard to, deny it, especially when it keeps coming up in front of you and keeps coming up in front of you. And
Yeah.
that is my goal in life. Like I want to be in your face so that you have no choice but to accept the help that I'm offering.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, it's not funny. I love it. I'm only laughing because it was just like it's funny to me because that was my personal struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like when I think about myself as like what it means to be a Yarborough, that's my last name.
Yeah.
And it's just like we are very I come from very proud people.
Yeah.
I put it that way. Like it's just like we don't ask for help. And I even think about stuff because I've been reflecting on my own life lately. And like when I go back to like when I broke my ankle, it's funny because like initially when I did it, it was just like it's just sprained. I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? I tried to walk it off like it's cool. I'm fine. I'm all right. It's all
Yeah.
right. And then a day passed and it was just like, okay, this is not okay. We need to go to a doctor. And I go get my x-rays and like the nurses and the doctors are like, ma'am, how did you walk in here? That like that shouldn't even be possible. But like even that experience was something that teacher taught me just like it's okay to need help. It's
Yeah.
okay to ask for help because I was in a position where it's just like I ain't have no choice but
Hmm.
to ask for help, but
Hmm.
to rely on people, and it's okay. And it's also what made me passionate about what it is that we're doing here is just like showing people just like yo, it's okay to need help. And actually it's a good thing to need help sometimes because it can show you who you can rely on, who you're not supposed to be relying on, who's for you, who's not for you. It's just like the experiences that we go through in life can teach us so much if we're paying attention to the right things sometimes. So that's why I say it's funny, but it's not necessarily funny. It's just
Yeah.
it's interesting is the better word to put for it.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So that's awesome. Um, so now let's talk about the pageantry as for it. So do you consider yourself passionate about pageantry as well?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So so how did that come to be?
So we had a quick little conversation and I kind of explained things, but to make a long story short, I had some very humbling experiences during my collegiate years where
Uh-huh.
I was doing a pageant as a freshman and was booed off the stage because of where I'm from. And it's just like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
that's cute. And then I came back again the next year, like, okay, well, I want to run for this. Didn't quite get that because I didn't get to participate in the pageant due to a terrible injury, a fractured ankle.
Yep.
Uh, these ankles,
Yeah. Right or the left?
it was my right.
Ah, same. Okay.
Look at that. So then my junior year, I decided to run for Miss Black and Gold, which is a fraternities queen, basically a female representation of the fraternity. I won that pageant. went on to the next round, won that one, and then some things that were out of my control kept me from going on to the next round. But from that, I mean, that really like sparked an interest in me.
Mm.
And when I was once I graduated, I'm like, yo, I don't think that I'm ever going to be able to do this again. But then I have a friend named Lucy. She was competing for Miss New Jersey USA, and I'm like, hey, I like that. Let's dig into it. Let's see what that's about. And so I applied, and they said yeah. And then from there it was like, oh shoot, we're really doing this. And then after after the pageant happened, the first time that I competed, I was so pageant struck that I was on this determinate de- determinate determination. I don't know what word I want to use, but I was on this path
Yeah.
of I gotta compete again. I gotta compete again. And every time I looked up a pageant, it was just not something that I could maintain financially. So I'm like, okay, all right. So then it was like, okay, well, let me put a pageant together myself. But that just was more time consuming than I had to offer. And it just ended up falling through. And then I ended up getting a new job, and all the things just happened, if you will.
Mm.
And I mean, in the mix of all the things happening, I was able to do some smaller variations of pageantry with the young ladies that I work with, and did um did a fashion show with them. So, that was close enough, if you will. And then, I mean, when I found out that I could compete again, it was on and popping from there. So, I mean, it's just it's like a bug. Like I got bit by it, and I can't let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that, like, as I'm listening to you talk, it's almost like, no matter what, it's almost like I'm getting fearless vibes from you. Do you consider yourself fearless?
Yeah, actually I do. I do. I'm very into trying new things. And if it doesn't go the way I want it to the first time, I'll probably try it again. And if it still don't go the way I want it to, there's a chance that I might try a third time. But fearlessness, yes. Yeah, I do have fearless vibes for sure.
Yeah. So, like, what do you say to, like, other people, right, who want to put their foot out there, right? Or say they've tried something and it didn't necessarily go the way that they want to go, or they have something that they want to do, but they're a little bit apprehensive about it. Like, what do you say to people like that? Like, you know what I'm saying? How do you think you could help inspire someone who wants to go out there but is just unsure?
I'm with you. So I have a background in marriage and family therapy. I got 33 credits secured under my belt in grad school. So I have a little bit of a therapist mindset, if you will. So generally, when young people come to me and they're like, "Yo, Miss Key or whatever they refer to me as," I'm scared to do this. I generally sit down with them and ask them why. Like, what are you scared of? Tell me what it is that you're really scared of. It is it scared of the act of doing it, or are you scared of rejection? Are you scared of potential abandonment? Like, what is it that you're really scared of? And once I know that, then I'm able to, I don't know, just run the path with them, walk the path with them. And within the last 48 hours, I'll say, people have been telling me, Key, give yourself permission to walk in your authority. And so that would be the thing that I would tell somebody now. Like, if you're nervous, if you're scared, all right, cool, acknowledge that. But when you're done being nervous and when you're done being scared, walk in your authority. There's a reason that you have that idea. There's a reason that you have a desire to fulfill these things. Like, just walk in it, go with it, and don't be scared. When you get there, remember that you've done everything that you can to prepare yourself, and know that you're going to have at least one person supporting you, and it's going to be me. Like, that would be my approach to it.
I love that. I love that. And I agree with it. On my journey, because for in a lot in my life, I was that fearful person who was like scared to put myself out there.
Mhm.
And I never would ask myself, like, why are you afraid? And it wasn't until I started my therapy journey where my
Mhm.
therapist started making me do that form of self-reflection. Like, okay, what is it that you're scared of? Like what's happening here? And you know what I'm saying? I'll do the things, like she'll have me journal and all of those things. But the more and more that you get to the root of your fears, I think that's the first step of
Yeah,
figuring out what's there. Because if you figure out what's there, then you can like kind of like debunk it a little bit. It
exactly.
almost seems like,
You can
yeah,
really unpack that stuff and be like, okay, well, it's not really the act of doing it. I'm actually just I'm scared that I'm going to disappoint myself. Well, why am I so scared that I'm going to disappoint myself? Oh, because I disappointed myself when I fell off my bike when I was trying to learn how to ride it when I was 6. Like just being able to tap in with those things just makes things so much clearer and makes it a little less stressful because now you figured out, okay, now I know what the root of it is.
yeah,
Maybe I should heal that 6-year-old so that
yeah.
this 26-year-old can do what she needs to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My dad, I get a little person, like I like telling my story in this
Yeah.
podcast, if you can't tell, but like my dad has brought it up before when he comes on a podcast. And like when I started going to therapy, one of my, I guess I don't really know how to word it, but like one of my most impactful moments to my psyche growing up was something that happened when I was 4.
Mhm.
Like my parents put me in kinder gym, like little baby gymnastics or whatever.
Okay.
And I could do everything just fine except for this one thing. And it was like a crab walk. And
Okay.
essentially like you on your back and you gotta like walk backwards or
Yeah.
something crazy like that. And I couldn't do it. It was the one thing in kinder gym that I could not do. And like I would just try and try and try and try and try. I just never gave up. So, the recital comes and I do everything, and then that one part comes, and then all of the kids go, and then they cross their little finish line, and it's just me going in circles, just not giving up, just
Yeah.
just just going in circles. And they eventually come over and they were like, Marissa, you did great, but stop. You did good, but stop. We got to finish this. We can't be here all night. Like, and I walked away from that like, like, see, this is what happens when you try. So I'm
Oh,
gonna just stop. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
like I embarrass myself. It's just like maybe I'm not good and maybe I'm not as good as the other kids. Maybe I lack me. You know what I'm saying? Like you walk away thinking negatively of yourself. And
Mhm.
then as later when I'm like 29, see, I held on to that psyche since I was 4.
Yeah.
And then and then we get to 2028 and I'm in therapy and we start unpacking that thought, and then it flips, and then I start thinking about it and it's just like, hold on, wait, actually I was very determined. Like I wasn't about to stop. Like that says more about my character than the quote unquote failure.
Mhm. It
you
does.
know yeah. And my dad later came on, and when I told him about it, he was like disappointed, but like disappointed in the sense of like, dang, how did I not know that happened to you and impacted you that way? But like also like that was my proudest moment of
Oh,
you, because I saw it, and then it also inspired me to never quit.
I love it.
you
I love
know and he was like, you were 4 and you're inspiring me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like you don't think about things that way, but it takes you going back to that thing and
Mhm.
really unpacking it to find what's really there. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? You could be walking away with something even more impactful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm with you 100. 100
Uh,
on that. For
yeah.
real.
Yeah. So let's go back to pageantry a little bit because I'm curious. Because
Okay.
I don't really know nothing. I don't know much about pageantry.
Yeah.
Now, granted, in college, I'd go. You know what I'm saying? I'd go to the black and gold pageants at my school and all
Mhm.
of those things. But I don't really know what goes into it. So could you give us like a little bit of a background of like somebody who just doesn't even know what we're talking about right now?
Yeah. So pageantry is the way that I would compare it. What I would compare it to is like any sport you think of. So it's something you have to practice. So if you into basketball, you gotta practice your jumper. You gotta practice this. You gotta practice that. So when you get out there on the court, you ain't making your coach look like a fool, right?
Yeah.
You got to be disciplined. You got to get up and you got to work out. You've got to do your interviews practices. You got to go out and get people to donate to you. Like it's a lot goes into it. If you think about like when we were, when we were kids and we had those fundraisers like in elementary school and we had to raise enough money so that we could get, I don't know, get these different prizes. So they have you selling cookie dough or they'd have you selling chocolate so you can raise some money to be able to get these prizes or whatever. It's that
Yeah.
type of mindset when it comes to going out and trying to get people to sponsor you or donate to your cause. So for me, what a what a week would look like for me. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm working out. I do hit workouts, so I'm only working out between 15 and 30 minutes every day. Which is pretty fun to me. I mean, it's part of my self-care at this point.
Mhm.
Um, and then on Thursdays, I have my walking practice and my interview prep. So in that, I'm doing full blown pageants basically. So I'm putting on the outfits, putting on the shoes, changing the music, having judges, the whole gambit, just to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible. Um, and even like I have a coach, and like I refuse to go out there and make my coach look like what in the world is she doing?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's really what it is. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, but I mean that's the gist of it. And then I mean, once you've done all the things, you go out there, you hit the stage, and you make the people love you more or less. Yeah.
Right. And what are the elements to a pageant? Like, what are the different things that you have to do in a pageant?
So with this system, with the USA system, we have what's called fun fashion. So you wear an outfit that you feel represents you. So for instance, for me last year, I wore a set that my husband got made for me. My husband is Nigerian, and so my outfit came from Nigeria. But it was like this two-piece outfit. It was real cute. Generally, people wear shoes. I did not wear shoes. Like it was a whole thing, but it was something that reflects who you are.
Right.
Um, so after that, you have swimwear. So in this point, they're looking at how healthy you are. You don't have to have these banging abs or anything like that, but they want to see that you are a healthy individual with whatever body type you are. From there, you're going into your formal wear. So that's when you have your gown on and they're looking at your poise and looking at how confident you are when you walk on the stage, making sure that you're, making eye contact with the judges, whatever the case might be. So that's day one. Day two, the first thing you're doing is going for an interview. So you have a 2-minute interview with a panel of judges. And they're asking you whatever you can think of. And in that, you're trying to really tell the judges why you should be the new Miss whomever. And then later on that night, it's time to get on stage again. Everybody gets to go out in their fun fashion outfit. And then you all stand there and you wait for them to call the top however many contestants. So last year was top 16. So all 33 women that had competed for the Miss contestant or in the Miss contestant, we all were just standing there smiling, cheesing, posing, praying that the judges picked you for top 16.
Yeah.
And then if you weren't picked for top 16, you go back to the dressing room and you might cry, you might go home, you might do whatever, right? that's
Right.
that's what happens. And then the top 16 or whatever, they go out and they compete all over again. And then they narrow it down to 2 people. And then the people that had gone off stage to begin with, you come back out in your dress like, hey, I was not back there crying. Everything is a-okay. We're here. Good sportsmanship, all the things. And then
Right.
stand there and you cheer on whoever, the next top 5 are. that are doing their question and answer. It gets narrowed down to two young ladies, and then they choose who the winner is. I mean, it's competitive. It's what's the word? I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it can be a lot. It can be
Yeah.
a lot to unpack. Um, but I mean, it's really fun. Like it's really, really fun. Like as long as you're in it for the right reasons, if you're in it to actually make an impact, if you're in it to have a good time, then that's exactly what it'll be.
Yeah. Yeah. And even as I was listening to you, something that I heard that made me very curious, because it does sound like a very competitive thing to be in. And it's just like a lot. It almost sounds like you're just being judged off of who you are, and like
Exactly.
who's the best representative of, whatever it is that you're representing for, whatever pageant that you're doing. So how do you balance that? Because what I see is just like you're trying to impress judges, but you also to a certain extent have to be authentic.
Mhm.
So how do you balance the two? Is
You
there
know,
yeah.
I'm in the process of trying to understand that myself.
Hmm.
Trying to
Hmm.
figure out how do I show up in the most humble and genuine way, along with these humble and genuine ways are the reasons that I want you to consider picking me. I'm still trying to figure that out, but what I am learning is to just show up. Don't put too much thought into it. Don't put too much thought into, oh, these judges are judging me. Like that's probably hard not to think about. But just remember there are people just like you. They put their draws on the same way you put yours on.
Yep.
They're people just like we are. And I think that it's easy for us to get like freaked out when somebody is judging you, but when you just remember that this is still a person, like a number of people already like me. Let me just go in and be myself with some enhancements here and there. You're good to go.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think today. I'll
Yeah.
tell you once I bring that crown home exactly if it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, anytime that you do anything that requires you to be under a spotlight of any type, there's a level, I feel like, of self-love and self-acceptance that you have to have
Oh yeah,
when
and it
you
has to
do it.
be real. It
Yeah.
has to be real because I mean, so we so easily say, "Oh yeah, I love myself. Oh yeah, I accept myself," but subconsciously we're comparing ourselves to the next person. Like
Mm,
even if you don't think that you are, a lot of times we are, and that's something that I know that I fell short in last year when I competed. Like even though I was focused on my race, I was still looking at somebody else's race going, "Oh, how can I do that?" Oh, but
mm.
let me focus back on my race. Even if it was a split second, that's just enough to distract you and deter you from what you're supposed to be doing. So this go around is like blinders, like legitimate blinders, and
Yeah.
going just and giving myself permission again to walk in my authority, my authenticity, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a very real thing to do. I was forced into that. Like even us being here right now, uh having this conversation is me doing that. In my own sense, because actually I was shy. I used to be shy, very much so. I was scared to talk to strangers. And with me doing this podcast for as long as I would do it, I was waiting for that outer validation. Like, give me the outside validation, give me the views, give me the, what I'm saying, I need people telling me that I'm doing a good job to understand that I'm doing something that's worth doing. And the
Mm,
part that I wasn't understanding was that really God was waiting for me to own it,
there it is.
like own who I was being called to be. And I
Yeah.
was waiting on everybody else to tell me it's okay to be what I was called to be.
Yep.
And it just doesn't work that way.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. And if you're waiting for somebody to give you permission to be you, you're gonna be waiting for a very long
Very.
time.
Very long time.
because it just doesn't work that way. But then when you do it, you find just so many more. You that's how I see you get blessed when
Mm,
you embrace it, because you, once you own it, it's just like, okay, now I can give you the things that are meant for you. But if you're not owning it, you're not ready.
that's a fact. That's a fact. If you're not owning it, you're not ready.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? When interactions like that come up, because like I feel like us coming together was a little serendipitous, like just you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
a Facebook post, and it's just like in the comment section, here we are. Cool. But you know, but if I was still in a place where I was probably like 6 months ago, where it's just like no,
Yeah.
no. I can't do that, then it wouldn't have happened. I just would have looked at the message and be like, I'll come back to that in 6 months. Like, nah, it
Yes.
doesn't work like that. You gotta hop on it
Oh
and
yeah.
own it and just be comfortable with it. Because you know what I'm saying? If you want people to accept you, you have to accept you. All of you.
In its entire in your entirety. I
Yeah.
mean, from your quirks to whatever, you gotta accept it. But
Yeah.
not accept it with hopes that somebody else accepts you. Just accept it because you gotta accept you. Forget
Yeah.
whatever anybody else think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the things that play a subconscious role in our psyche at times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if we're basing it off other people, because like I said, I've been there, where it's like somebody can tell me something where it's just like, you know, I'm a Cancer, I'm an emotional person. So if somebody is just like, oh, your emotions are too much, and I'm sitting here like, are they? You know, like then,
Yeah.
then you know, like I'm second guessing myself, so now I'm suppressing, now I'm hiding, now I'm not being authentic anymore. So you know what I'm saying, it keeps you away from people who would just wholly accept you if you were just your authentic self. So it really keeps us, not accepting ourselves keeps us from getting the things that we really want out of life sometimes.
Hey, you preaching, ain't it? I'm having to jot these things down. That's a word.
You know it, and I mean, like it just takes going through, it, you know, like you just learn. It's just like, okay, once you learn how to love yourself, that's when it all starts falling into place. That's when things start falling into your lap. But it
Mm,
starts with the you, and you can't be looking at everybody else and everybody else's story. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. I mean, like that's it on the nail. That hits it right on the nail.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said it earlier, and it just made me want to ask, hopefully I'm not putting you too much on the spot. So why do you feel like you should be Miss Missouri?
You know, I've thought about this question several times and I know it's probably gonna come up. Um,
Just
but
maybe.
just maybe. But I feel like I should be Miss Missouri because one, I present with a very positive mindset. That's the first thing. I mean, you got to be positive and you got to see what you say through. So I'm positive. I am a fearless liaison when it comes to networking with people in my community. I'm all about connecting people with beneficial resources to enhance them at the end of the day. And then I'm open minded. I think those are all of the things that a title holder needs to have. And I believe that I embody them. And I believe that I am a realistic, obtainable role model to the next person that's looking to potentially figure out what they want to do in life, if that makes sense. Like I know what I bring to the table and I know that my voice needs to be heard and I know that there's a light in me that's been God ordained and that he's sending me to go and do a work somewhere else. So I mean that's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds awesome. That sounds like a great reason for me.
Thank you.
You
And I
know,
mean
listening.
also
Yeah.
I am finally I think on on the today, so April 30th at 5:38 p.m., I am ready to give myself permission to walk in 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 my authenticity. I'm ready to give myself the, all right, Key, go for it. You can still be humble and you can still believe in yourself. Just go do it. You don't have to look for somebody else to give you the green light. You're giving yourself the green light. I think as of today, I'm ready for that. And I think you have to have that mindset as well, especially in higher level, I guess, leadership spaces.
Absolutely. You definitely have to have that, wherever you go. And I
Yeah.
think I think that's the thing in people that always stands out. You can tell when someone is doing it just to do it, and you can tell when someone is doing it from a genuine place.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, and I mean, I see it. You know what I'm saying? I feel it because you see it. Like when someone's being genuine, you can see it, you can feel it, you can understand it. Like you just know.
Hmm.
And you know what I'm saying? When somebody is embodying who it is that they were intended to be, what
Yeah.
they were meant to be, like someone who is just fully in their purpose, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
yeah. Yeah, and it's undeniable, and I think that's how this is why I like talking about purpose so much on this show, because when you find that thing that when you were meant to do, so much gets stripped away in the process of finding purpose.
Man, it's like a weight has been lifted off of you. Like, I could, if I just let all this stuff go and really just focused on it, I could have been here by now. Man,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, yeah, cuz then once you get to that point, it's a matter of just understanding, like, I'm gonna be at the right places at the right times doing the right things, because I'm doing what feels good, what feels natural, to me. And just because it feels good, it feels natural, it doesn't mean that it's easy. It's work,
yeah,
but even the work of it feels right.
for sure. For sure. And it doesn't feel like work. It's just like, oh, this is a part of my everyday life.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm supposed to go and talk to this young lady or young man about whatever it is that they got going through their mind. Like, oh, okay, cool. Or I'm supposed to go and do this community outreach project because my community poured into me. I should be able to pour back into it. It's like just a natural, like you said, a natural occurrence.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So how important do you think it is for people to find purpose, to find their thing?
Man, it is very important because if you don't find it, you just walking around aimlessly. I mean, eventually you'll get there. And I mean, I think we all in one way or another we do walk around aimlessly, and then eventually we get there. But you don't want to just keep walking around aimlessly. Like you
Mm,
don't just want to just be here. You want to actually be doing something where you're providing some type of impact somewhere. Finding your purpose. I mean, I feel like that's the best thing you can do for yourself. Because once you have it, once you figured it out, nobody can take it away from you.
mhm.
You all you can do is walk in it.
Yeah. 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 And that goes to knowing yourself too. Knowing yourself, loving yourself, having purpose. Those are all things that no one can ever take away from you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A fear that I hear people have a lot of times is like a fear of loneliness.
Hmm.
Like so many people fear being alone, and at one point in time I even feared being alone, but what I learned is there's a power, you know what I'm saying? Because the next question is just like, why do you fear being alone?
Right.
What is it that you're afraid of? Are you afraid that nobody is going to be there for you? Are you afraid that, what I'm saying, if you were left alone you would never be okay? Like, are you afraid you won't be able to pull yourself together? What is it that you're afraid of?
Right.
um because it's something about once you get that time where you are alone and you have that opportunity to really figure yourself out, like, who am I, what do I love, what do I want to do, what am I passionate about, what kind of friend do I want to be, what type of partner do I want to be, like, what do I want. And then you gain things that no one can ever take away from you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You get to a point where it's just like, it doesn't matter who's here. Something my therapist told me, she was just like, because I had that, like I said, I had that fear. She was just like, the thing about life is you can't really run from loneliness.
At all.
She was just like, you could have a family, you can have a partner, you cannot, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter who's around, you could always feel lonely. But it's learning how to embrace the loneliness. So then when you're not lonely, you know how to be grateful for it.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm with you. I am with you 100% because been there, been there. Still find myself there from time to time, and like you said, being when you're there, being grateful for the moments where it's like, oh shoot, I really wasn't alone. Okay, yeah, I could vibe with this. Just being grateful for those moments and really taking them in and just being grateful. I mean, that's that's the word that I come back to. But yeah, no, I'm with you with that.
Yeah, yeah. But to get back to pageantry, because I'll go on these tangents all day. I just like talking about this kind of stuff.
Hey,
It's
you
just
go, I'm going with you. We just going down a rabbit hole.
this what we do. I mean, but that's why I made Think of Our Speakers conversational style, fortunately. Like, not necessarily like it can be a little interviewy sometimes, but it's really a conversation. And that's what conversations do. Sometimes you go down a rabbit hole. But with pageantry, another thing that I'm curious about
Mhm.
is what happens when you win.
Yeah, so when you win, now it's time to one, you go and compete at a new level. Two, you no longer have your local title holder. Three, if you were doing the work with your local title holder, so if you were going out into the community, speaking to whomever, being a presence wherever, so on and so forth, you're going to continue to do that just on a higher level. And then you're touching the whole state. So me as Miss Capital City, my main focus is Jefferson City right now. But me as potentially Miss Missouri USA, now I'm focusing on all of Missouri. So that could be Kansas City, Missouri, that could be St. Louis, that could be anybody in between. Um that's more so what it's like. And then you're preparing for Miss USA. So now you're preparing. So the same way I'm preparing for Miss Capital City, Miss Missouri would be preparing for Miss USA. Um, and it's the same thing. Miss USA is just a step up. So instead of just focusing primarily on Missouri, now you're focusing on all 50 states. Um, and trying to give back to each state and be present for each state. Basically, you're the face of the United States of America. You're the face of Missouri. You're the face of Jefferson City. You see what I'm saying? And then after Miss USA, it's Miss Universe. And so now you're the face of the world at this point. Um,
Yeah.
and again, just making sure that you're actually giving back. So it's a stepping stone. So you start with your local title holder. Then you go on and you get the state title holder. Now you're going on and you're trying to get the USA title holder. Now you're going on and trying to get the Miss Universe title holder. It's a step up each time.
Oh, so I could potentially be talking to like the future Miss Universe right now.
Yes. You
Okay.
yes. That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. That don't make me nervous at all. You know what I'm saying? Just
That is correct. Hey, you got to shoot for the highest of heights. And I've been told if you're going to set your dream high, set it up there. And so, hey, that's where my dream is at.
that's very much a fact. There's very much a fact. I actually interviewed somebody that I used to work with a long time ago. She's a journalist now, but back in the day, like, we were just retail workers together,
Yeah.
and we called it a full circle moment. We called it a full circle moment
Yeah.
when we were talking, because like now she does like, you know, online vlogging and everything like that. And I was just like, for all we know, one day you could be interviewing me on somebody's red carpet. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We both could be where we want to be. And it's just like, you got to shoot for the stars like that, because you never know.
You never know. Like always, 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 always put your best foot forward. Like if you're gonna put your foot out there, put the good one out there.
Yeah. And put it all the way out there. Just take the whole thing off. Just go for
On
it.
me, on me, on me, on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go for it. But I definitely feel like, I don't know. I feel like this could just be me, but I feel like I talk to greatness every time I get on.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I feel like every time we get on an episode and I'm talking to somebody, I feel like I'm sitting next to greatness, and I
Yeah,
definitely feel like that right now too. I very well could be talking to the future Miss Universe. That's
that's
how I feel.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
certainly appreciate that. And likewise, I mean, if you're surrounded by greatness, you got to be great. You got to be just as great. You know, it's never far from you. That's something that my husband has always told me. Like, if you surround yourself with love, love is never going to be far from you. So if you surround yourself with great people, greatness can't not be far. Well, greatness can't be far from you. There we go.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what I'm saying? And that takes me back to the idea of circles. You know what I'm saying? The people that you surround yourself by.
Oh yeah.
I say this to people all the time. It's just like, if you are not seeing what you want out of life,
Mhm.
then you got to look at what's around you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because your environment will constantly ingrain these thoughts in your head. If you always tell yourself, um nobody ever supports me, why do you feel like nobody ever supports you?
Right. Right.
Because the people around you aren't dependable. You want dependable people in your life.
Go get them.
Yeah. Now that might require you to let the people go that you feel like aren't dependable. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's not an easy thing to do. Nobody's saying that it is.
Right.
But are you more concerned with making those people that make you feel like you not supported comfortable? Or do you want to go somewhere and feel supported and valued?
Right. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, it's necessary. I had a conversation with one of my mentees the other day, and she was telling me that she just had some pressure from her family just about, you know, her needing to graduate and blah blah blah. And she had all this pressure, but she also had to do her some testing. She had some testing that she needed to complete. And my response to her was, well, sweetheart, if you were focused more so on, you know, making your family proud and yada yada yada, how you gonna pass these tests? Because you're not putting, that's not where your mind is at. You're not focused on studying this material. You're not focused on retaining this material. You're focused on your family. And I think putting it in that perspective, it helped her to realize, like, oh, I can only make them proud if I'm taking care of what needs to be taken care of.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, and sometimes that's what it takes, you know, hearing that, those hard words, I mean, it goes a long way. You know, it reshapes you, it gives you that gut check that you're needing. Um, and then you're able to wrangle in what is necessary, what needs to be around you, lock arms with what will and what won't work for you. And now we're able to, you know, actually get things done and really take ownership and be proud of what we've made it to.
Absolutely. 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 Like I'm a firm believer. It's just like, you know, like what's the best way to put it? Because in some cases it's almost like you have to be the start.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you want people to support you, you gotta align yourself with that outcome that
Yeah.
you want. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And the people that are meant to come along will.
Yeah.
And the people that don't come along, it might suck, but
Yeah.
they ain't supposed to be there.
And that's okay. And that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, I'm realizing just as, you know, a young person, like it's hard. It's hard to like let those relationships or whatever, you know, go by the wayside. But like when you look at it, it's like, oh well, maybe they didn't really go by the wayside. You were able to learn something from them. But still, that letting go is it's undeniable that it doesn't, that it hurts,
Mhm.
but it, I mean, it's necessary for the growth.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Somewhere along the way, I'm gonna have to have a conversation about detachment.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. That is
a
a
big one.
big one. Woo.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
I want to be in on that conversation.
Well, come on, we'll have you back, and we could talk about detachment because it's an important thing. I think, and depending on where you're at with it, some people, I thought of detachment as a selfish thing in the past, but now it's really just necessary.
Yeah.
Like detachment and boundaries, like these are things that are important.
Hmm.
And sometimes we can not realize how important these things are, but they're going to be like vital to, what I'm saying, they're vital to maintaining peace,
Yeah.
success. Just so much goes into just maintaining boundaries and knowing when it's time to detach and being able to do so without all of the negative connotations that could possibly come with it,
Hmm.
because it shouldn't be a bad thing. It can really be a beautiful thing if you know how to do it correctly.
Right. Right. I'm with you. I mean, communicating that detachment. I mean, if you feel like you can communicate it, it can be a beautiful thing. And I mean, even if you don't feel like you can communicate it, it can still be a beautiful thing. Just focusing and zoning in on yourself, man. You can't go wrong with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's next for you here? You said is the competition in May?
Yes. So competition day is May 20th and the 21st in Branson, Missouri.
Ooh, okay.
Oh yeah. It's around the corner. It's around
Mm-hmm.
the corner. This go around has been different for me. Last year I had 6 months, somewhere between 6 and 8 months of prep. This year I've had like two. um but it's like, yo, I'm confident. I am confident in my ability. I am confident in my support system. And I mean, people, folks have come through for me. So
Yeah.
now it's like, let's get it and let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And faith will do that. Faith will do that. You know what I mean? Because like when if something's for
Yeah.
you know you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, like, what I'm saying, it's just like if you think about that person in college that could like not study and stay up all night before, and they
Mhm.
can go and they can get an A on that test and you know what I'm saying, and you don't,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't work your butt off, but it was just like that's their thing, that's for them. That's for them. You got your thing, I got my thing, and you know what I'm saying, like 2 months of prep, 6 months of prep, if it's for you, it's for you, and it sounds like you got a great chance of getting it. So
Hey, that is the goal. Tunnel vision is on. I mean, of course, I still got to balance. I still got to take care of work because if I don't, my bills don't get paid. But
that's
like
real.
it's still there. There is some balance. Um, I still have a social life. I last year I cut out so much stuff and I didn't learn how to balance all the things. But in my mind, it's like, well, if I become Miss Missouri, how am I going to balance my life? Like, I got to still be able to balance my life. I got to be able to still be a wife. I got to be able to still be a sister. I got to still be able to be a daughter. Whereas last year, I basically cut all that stuff out. This year was like, nah, sweetheart, you gotta learn. You gotta learn from what you did last year. And so it's
That's
like,
real.
get
That's-
it and go.
So, what are ways that you learn how to balance it?
Honestly, I have had to just use my planners, use my calendars, and then also communicate. Like specifically, I'll specifically touch on with my husband. So I've only been married for almost 5 months. It'll be 5 months on the second. Um,
Congratulations.
thank you. And within my marriage, we've had to learn how to communicate in a effective way. I mean, we learned this before we got married. Thank God. But being able to let my husband know, like, hey babe, I am feeling tired, can you help me out, can you make dinner, or hey babe, I gotta go and do an interview at this time, can you take care of Muffin, can you take her out, make sure she's walked and ate and all these things. It's just a matter of communication with him and just letting him know, like, hey, I have these things coming up. What do you got coming up? So now we're looking at our weeks and seeing, okay, this is how I can support you, this is how I can support you, you know? And then so that's just with my husband. Then with like my parents, I'm telling my parents, like, hey, I have a community service event on this day. I'm not gonna be able to come to Kansas City and dilly dal with you. I gotta go take care of this. But maybe next weekend we can do all the dilly and dallying. Um,
Right.
and like, work responsibilities. Again, just really being in tune with my calendar. I have to put everything on my calendar because if I don't, something's gonna slip. I mean, I go to the chiropractor weekly. I I go to work weekly. Obviously, I have practices weekly, so I have to make sure that they are planned out and on a calendar because if I don't, I'll plan something else in that spot. And now I'm looking like, oh shoot, how am I gonna do all of this at the same time?
Yeah.
So balance has literally come from using using my resources. I mean, I tell my kids all the time. Well, they're not my actual biological kids because I don't have any, but I tell my students or my mentees or whatever all the time, like write it down so you don't forget.
Yeah.
Like put a reminder in your phone, something, so you don't forget.
Something.
Like put it on your front door so like when you walk out, you have no choice but to see it. Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that's my way right now. Keep my balance, and it's working. Thank God, it is working. It is really working.
It does, you know what I'm saying? Even for me, like I wasn't the most organized person in the world before I started this journey.
Yeah,
And like I used to, but at the same time, I wasn't organized, but I'd still be like, how is it possible to do all of these things? Well, you have to get organized and then it's
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
You know, like when you doing these things in life, it's just like you can make it all work. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not impossible, but you're gonna have to learn how to make certain adjustments, and it's very real. Like I've learned how to cling to my planner even when it comes to like how I schedule podcasts and stuff like
yeah,
that. Like, you know, me using a scheduler was a product of not having a life because I'm always just like, um, when I'm trying to link with people, it's just like, well, tell me what works for you, and then I'll just make it work. And it's just like,
yeah.
hold on, wait, now I don't have a life
Right, right.
because I'm on everybody else's time. And it's just like, no, we need to find a way where we can get on our time
Yep.
together, you know, and do it that way. And even still, like I didn't use it one time, like literally the other day when we talked, I didn't use it for a different person and I double booked myself and I ended up staying up till midnight. And it's just like, it's okay, I love what I do, but this is why you use the calendar, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's all right, like, you know what I'm saying, just get organized. It's possible, you can do everything, you can do anything.
Quite
Like,
literally. As long as you are organized with it, you really can. Like it's really possible, but remember to sleep. Like sleep is
yeah,
important. Don't
yeah.
forget. Schedule that in somewhere too.
And you can get that in too, you know what I mean? Like even still, like you can do 50,000 things in a day and still get 88 hours of sleep if you do it
No,
right.
you hear me? Listen, one thing for sure, two things for certain. I am not gonna miss bedtime. I am
No.
going to be on time to bedtime. Like I,
You and me both, okay? Because one thing that I cannot do, because also at the same time, that goes back to self-care too. It sounds like I might need you back. But
hey,
that goes back, yeah.
say the word.
I'm saying the word right now,
All right,
but
bet.
but like it goes back to self care too, because it's just like even when you're doing all of these things, you still have to be able to show up fully
Hmm.
in them, and that requires you being able to take care of yourself, which makes the schedule so important. Because like, you know, I can't, like, even though I do this, like I could stay up till midnight making posts, but then I got to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning, you
Hmm.
know, and when I show up to work, I can't be like, yeah, I ain't got it for y'all. Like, you know, like I can't do
Man,
that.
now you don't got a job.
Exactly. And then when I come home and my dog is looking at me like, Mom, what's up? It's my first time seeing you. You know what I'm saying? Let's play. I can't be like, Ruby gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? You just can't do
Right.
it. Like, you gotta have that balance to be able to show up in all of the places. So it's important to take care of yourself to make sure you can do that.
Yeah. Man. Man, like that's really all I can say, because like those things, I mean, we harp on them all the time, but like how many of us really practice it like in for real life? And
Yeah,
like I'm finally at that point of, nah, it's for real life. It's for real time to practice this stuff.
yeah, yeah, because it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's worth it. You know what I'm saying? You could get all of the things that you prayed for, but then when they come, you gotta be ready for it,
Yep.
because
You
then
sh-
it'll go away.
you're sure right about it.
But on that note, we touching about an hour, so I'm not gonna take up too much of your day. I love talking to you though.
Man,
Thank you for taking this time.
likewise.
Yeah, yeah, you are more than welcome to come back anytime. It's plenty of conversations that I would love to have with you.
Bet that.
Yeah,
That is
and
that.
yeah, and we also gonna have to talk to you after the pageant is over, because we're gonna want to talk about that too. But
For sure.
after you win, we're just gonna speak it into
Come
existence.
on. Come on. Well, I'll be in touch for sure. Because I mean I like to talk, so
Yeah, me too. Me too. We are not strangers anymore.
at all.
But yeah, on that note, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Do you want to let the people know where to follow you on social media or anything else to help support you? And
Yeah, for sure. So you guys can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is KEYNI0903. So that's Key Ni 0903. KEYNI0903. Um, I mean, you can add me on Facebook. I mean, I'm generally just sharing things on there that I be funny, but my Facebook is my first and last name. So Keara, Keara, last name Okolo, Okolo. And I mean, I add people back. So yeah, those are the ways to stay in touch with me.
All right, cool, cool, cool. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at Marissa Y17 on Instagram and occasionally TikTok, but don't bet on it. And then you can find me at Marissa the Thinker on Facebook and YouTube. And Thinker versus Speaker is on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as Thinker versus Speaker. So if you enjoyed this conversation, if you want to hear more about Miss Key over here and her journey, make sure you go follow her on social media. Um, and yeah, if it's anybody else that you want to hear me talk to, any conversations that we want to have, any questions that you think I missed, follow me on social media. Let me know. And you know what I'm saying? We're gonna have Miss Key back. So you
Yes.
know what I'm saying? We
Yes.
can double back and get that back in there. But yeah, unless you got anything else for the people, we can go ahead and get out of here.
All
Any
right.
last
Thanks for
words?
having me. It has been a pleasure.
Absolutely has been. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
For
And
sure.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Not a problem. All right. Have a good evening.
You too.